What's up, everybody? Raiko here. Today, I'm bringing you something a little different. I went to locals, and I brought Spyral. And as you can see from the thumbnail or the title of this video, I got second with Spyral. Yeah, 2024, no master plan, pretty cool. But before we get into the deck profile, I wanted to thank you all so much for your continuous support. I really couldn't be doing this without you all. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. This deck is so cool. I have loved this deck since day one, and this mat was one of the first WCQ mats I've ever gotten. I love this. Spyral holds a special place in my heart. This deck, it may not be the best, but if you're piloting it well and you have the right builds, you can definitely do a lot with this deck. Before I start getting into the profile, I wanted to take a moment to let you know that this may not be the most budget-friendly option because I am running some expensive engines, as you'll see in a moment. There are still plenty of other options you can play this deck. There are certain engines that you can take out for certain non-engine. So with that, let's jump right into the main deck, okay? Starting off with the main deck, we have 3 quick fix. This card is essentially the heart and soul of the deck. The fact that it doesn't say once per turn anywhere on this card, you can essentially search most of your deck in the turn 1 combo. And if you're lucky enough to see machine duplication, you're just winning. Your opponent may have hand traps. However, this deck can play through 1 or 2, and the field spell definitely helps a lot, keeping your guys from being untargeting. But overall, if you resolve this guy and you resolve machine dupe with this guy, you're essentially winning. For the next Spyral monsters, we have 3 drones. This is fairly obvious. Being able to stack your opponent's deck legally and basically essentially make it to where you're calling the right card every single time is very, very powerful. You don't want to play any less than 3 drone. Plus, its graveyard effect comes up quite often, and same with its attack boost. It does have some secret effects that people forget about, but overall, this card does come in pretty clutch, and I really, really enjoy it. I wouldn't run any less than 3. Moving on, we have 2 Super Agent and 1 Tough. The reason why we're only playing 2 Super Agent, well, honestly, he kind of bricks. It's nice to search him, and drones plus agent is full combo essentially, but you don't want to clog on too many copies of these, as you would rather see other engine to help you combo out as well. Tough is really, really good because it's super agent on the field, plus it just helps you going second, being able to normal tough and essentially bait out an interruption right away by calling the top card of your opponent's deck and threatening to pop one of their cards. It comes up quite often, and it makes it to where if you normal tough and you have agent in hand, well, these 2 cards, they go hand in hand, especially at cracking boards. I love this ratio. I wouldn't really consider playing 3 agent. You could if you'd like, but I just personally didn't really find the room in this list. Continuing with the last Spyral monsters, we are playing 1 sleeper and 1 last resort to go with the sleeper. Sleeper is still an insane boss monster. Being able to pop 2 on either player's turn is really, really strong. Plus, when it's equipped with the last resort, making it to where it's can't be destroyed by battle or card effects and it can't be targeted comes up quite often. If you're summoning Sleeper and you're equipping last resort, chances are you're winning that duel. You don't need to play more than these because Spyral gear is searchable and Sleeper can be a brick. Depending on your hand and depending on the combo line, you can search this with double helix, and so I don't know. Playing more than 1 isn't really optimal. You don't want to brick with this deck. This deck can brick. Moving on to the other Spyral cards, we are playing 3 resort. Don't play any less than 3. This card is unbelievably good. It's not a hard once per turn. Plus it's targeting protection for all of your Spyral monsters. This is what allows you to essentially full combo, even if your opponent has something like Imperm or Veiler. Overall, this card is very, very strong. Don't play any less than 3. I'm also playing the 1 Terraforming to go along with the 3 resort because you want to see this card as much as possible. And opening multiples is not bad at all. We have 2 big red. We don't want to play 1 because seeing 2 for follow-up can be pretty nice, and having this to essentially extend through any interruption your opponent has is also really, really good. But 3 definitely can clog because it is a once per turn. So playing 2 is just right. Plus it's searchable. It is a Spyral gear, so you can search it off quick fix, and you usually do in the combo. But this card's really, really good. I wouldn't play less. I wouldn't play more. We are playing the 1 Utility Wire. Utility Wire is excellent to end on. It essentially makes it to where if your monsters get cleared, or let's say you get dark rulered, you still have some interruption on your opponent's turn. Utility Wire is very, very good. You do have to have a super agent on the field, but double helix and tough count as super agent while they're on the field. So if you have a double helix or a tough or just a regular agent on field, this is live, very, very strong. Plus it's searchable. And then we are playing 1 assault and 2 rescue. The reason why we're playing 2 Rescue and 1 Assault, we are not playing Magician Souls in this, so that's a little spoiler, but what we are playing is a certain engine that can help pitch this to the grave. Also, being able to just draw this to pitch off of Quick Fix can really make it to where your end boards just become that much better, and you can full combo that much easier. Plus, it's good for recursion in case your board gets wiped and you can reborn from the crackback, or this allows you to essentially draw a card as well if you don't want to use its graveyard effect. I like this ratio. 2 and 1 seem to work out really, really well for me. And that's the Spyral cards. Now, we're going to be moving on to the other engines I decided to play in this deck. These aren't budget friendly, and I apologize about that. A lot of the time, I was siding out this package anyways. So we are playing the Diabolstar package with 1 Black Witch, 3 Wanteds, 1 Snake Eye, 1 Original Sinful Spoils, and 1 Jet Synchron. So the reason why I'm playing this package is because it's just good extension. Also, sometimes you'll find yourself like mid Spyral combo and you just need an extra level 1 to really help you get you there so you don't lose your quick fixes when they get banished. So being able to use a Jet Synchron to overlay both level 1s to keep your quick fix is really, really, really strong. Something to note with this is it does give you an extra draw, and that draw can be the difference between full combo and not. And if you get hand trapped, this just allows for some more extension. Overall, I really like the engine, but I did see myself siding it out quite a bit for going second cards, especially when going second, or when going first when siding in cross out. It's not necessary to play the Wanted engine, but if you do, it does come up quite a bit. Going on to the next engine I'm playing, we're also playing the Horus engine. So we are playing triple Mseti, 1 Happy, and 2 Sark. These cards are so good in this deck. Being able to get you a draw and pitch bricks. So let's say you draw the Spyral Trap that reborns or the Spyral Spell that specials from hand. Being able to send it with Mseti or King Sark is really, really strong. Also, you make Zombie Vampire in this deck, and that can be the difference between full combo and not. Sometimes there isn't really a way to put 2 Spyral monsters onto the board, but Zombie Vampire gets you there. Also, we are playing Dingirsu as a little spoiler. Dingirsu is just solid non-targeting removal, and it just helps a lot going second. In one of my matches actually versus Pearly, I actually used Dingirsu to clear a summon limit, and that ended up making me win the game. Also, Mseti baits Ash. If your opponent starts off with Mseti, pitch a card, chances are it's going to eat an Ash if your opponent has it. That's really, really good, because that just means you're more likely to resolve your other Spyral cards, for example, the Double Helix, that you don't want to get Ash. I really like this engine. It's not the most budget friendly, but at the end of the day, this really brings Spyral up to the next level. Same with the Wanted engine. I really like this ratio as well. I wouldn't play more Sark, and I wouldn't play more Horus monsters. Going on to the power spells, we have 3 Machine Duplication. There's not much to say about this card. If you see this with drones, or you see this with Quick Fix, and it resolves, you're winning. That you're just nice at that point.
Nice.
Normal summon Quick Fix, Machine Dupe, and getting more searches, you're just on such a snowball that the board you end up setting up, if your opponent doesn't really have hand traps to stop you, you're gonna win that game. And this also enables it to where if you hold this going second to be your last card, a lot of the times your opponent will use interruption on your other engines, for example, the Wanted engine and the Horus engine. So if you use this last, chances are it's probably going to resolve, and if it resolves, you're probably winning. We are playing 1 for 1, called by Enroda. These are just solid power spells. This is essentially your second tough and your third super agent. This allows you to play through hand traps. Called by is excellent. If it was more than 1, we'd be playing more than 1. And 1 for 1 just gives you an extra copy of drones or quick fix, which again can enable you to combo. 1 for 1 is essentially full combo on its own, because you can summon quick fix, add drone, normal drone, stack your opponent's deck, make double helix, go from there. It's excellent. I really recommend playing these power spells, especially 1 for 1. They're all really, really good. And then the last card in the deck, we are playing the 1 DD Crow because it is searchable. Having this be a part of your hand in your end board, it's incredible. This just locks away games on its own sometimes. So being able to search it for your combo, very, very strong. And that's the main deck, a clean 40. Moving on to the extra deck, we've got a Link Karibo, a Little Knight, 2 Double Helix, an access code, and an Appaloosa. These cards are essentially the only Link monsters you play, but it's the only Link monsters you need. You can argue to play Unicorn, you can argue to play Anima, but Link Karibo, I believe, is the strongest Link one you can play for this, because being able to special itself back out to stop your Appaloosa from being destroyed by battle comes up quite often. Also, the Link arrow pointing down means to where if you summon a Link Karibo and you make a double helix right under it, you can then use double helix effect to summon to a zone it points to. With Anima, it points up, so you can't really resolve double helix. And double helix requires 2 Spyral monsters, so you can't use Anima as part of that Link material. So overall, if you had to pick one, I would play Link Karibo instead of Anima. Going on to the XYZs, we're playing Fucho, which is your backup if you get drolled, and surprisingly enough, a lot of decks can't really deal with a Fucho. We are playing the 1 Recital Starling. Recital Starling searches you your DD Crow, and it's part of your combo because it stops your quick fixes from being banished. You want solid rank 1s, and I really like these two as my choice. You could play Princess Sprite, the one that mills a card and allows you to add a spell, but I didn't really have the space for it. But I needed to play 2 rank 1s, and I valued Fucho, if you get drolled, a little more than Princess Sprite, because Princess Sprite's more or less a win more. I really like these rank 1s. They're very, very solid. And then to go with these rank 1s, we are playing Utopic Draco Future and the Utopic Draco Future and Utopic Future package, the F-Zero package. These cards are very, very strong, and this is part of your end board. Being able to have a monster negate that not only negates, but also permanently takes is really strong. During the tournament, I took a Fenrir, and having that extra layer of interruption actually came up and it mattered, and it was very, very powerful. I really like these XZs. Those 4 XZs are, I highly recommend. You can play other rank 1s, but overall, I really like that package the most. Continuing with the XZs, we have Dingirsu and Zombie Vampire as our rank 8s for the Horus package. Zombie Vampire, you're gonna make Zombie Vampire going first most of the time. It gets you that second Spyral name, and it lets you see what your opponent's playing to help adjust your end board as well. It's very, very, very powerful. You don't really need a Galaxy, Photon Lord, whatever it is. The Monster Negate, rank 8, the one that's pretty expensive right now, surprisingly still. You just don't have the space in it, in your extra deck. Also, if you're making your full board and you don't need Zombie Vampire, then ending on just both Horus monsters as part of your end board is very, very strong, and it makes it to where it punishes your opponent if they try and clear it. I really like these 2 rank 8s. They were perfect. And then continuing with the XEs, we have 1 Downerd, 1 Zeus to go with the Fucho. Excellent. And we are playing Typhon. These 3 come up quite often. Zeus, especially since people are playing Cash Chair or more Cash Chair now, Zeus comes up quite a bit, especially with Fucho. And Typhon is your going second versus Manadium, and it's just another option in really simplified game states where each player is top decking. I really like this extra deck count. The extra deck is very, very tight, so there's not really wiggle room there. But overall, I wouldn't make any changes. It was solid for me. I really enjoyed it. Now, going on to the side deck. I played 3 Droll. This is pretty obvious. Every deck nowadays is running Droll either in the main or side. If it's not in the main, it's definitely in the side. There are just certain decks that Droll just puts a stop to, and if you don't have Droll, you essentially just lose. So like think Manadium, right? Manadium, if you don't see Droll, chances are you're losing that. So I highly recommend playing Droll somewhere. If it's not in the main, definitely have it in the side. I'm playing 3 Ghost Bell. Ghost Bell, as of now, is really, really good against Fire King. It's also very, very strong versus Labyrinth. A lot of the times I was siding out the Sinful Spoil engine to just put in 6 non-engine, and so I would pair hand traps together, and to go with Bell, for example, if you're playing against Labyrinth, I also play 3 Ash. In the side, Ash is just a good generic card, and it sometimes just steals games against random decks. Like a well-timed Ash, if opponent's hand is kind of weird, it just wins the game outright. Also, I just really wanted to side generic hand traps that were good into most matchups, because you're not really sure what you're going to play against. By having these 6 hand traps in particular, I'm covering a lot of matchups while also making it to where if I'm playing against Labyrinth, I'm going to be fairly comfortable versus Labyrinth, because these hand traps are just so good versus that deck. We do play 1 Duster. Duster was our 15th card, and it may be a little weird, but overall, this card does come up clutch sometimes. There are just certain boards or certain back row that it's just nice to clear everything, and especially post game 1, when your opponent starts siding in floodgates, for example, Summon Limit, this just deals with that, and so I highly recommend playing this if you just have an extra spot. And then for the last 5 cards, I'm playing 1 Shifter, 3 Crossout to go with the Shifter, because this deck loses hard to Shifter. And then I wanted something for Pearly, so I'm playing the Pearly. Playing the Pearly makes it to where if you have Crossout, you now have a good going second card versus Pearly. This deck has a very, very difficult time versus a Towers monster, especially one that could just spin back your monsters or any cards you have. Having Crossout to call Pearly, which is how I beat Pearly, by the way, it comes up and your opponent will just never expect it. I couldn't really justify playing XYZ Encore because XYZ Encore is only good versus Pearly, and that's committing 3 spots. But by playing Crossout and the 1 Pearly, I only had to commit 1 spot, and it ended up working out. I beat Pearly. It was great. Yeah, I really, really like playing Crossout with the 1 leap. I might just do that going into next format as well. And that's the deck profile. If you liked it, or have any comments or suggestions, please let me know in the comments below. Also, make sure to smack that like button, and if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. It helps a lot. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and until next time, peace.